the government right now is trying very hard to take back public land to use that for housing and data centers and stuff like that, right? And so they're like, look, there's millions and millions and millions of acres of public land in the United States. Let's just take a good portion of this and use it for housing and whatever. But us as hunters, I'm sure other outdoor people that just love to be outdoors also are fighting, but we're fighting very hard to say, no, we're not giving you an inch of our public land. Because once that happens, once the housing development goes up, animals can't live there. Where are they going to go?
There are healers on this planet with the power to soften the suffering of mankind, yet they have remained in the recesses of the world, abused, discarded, and labeled as trash. This is The Touch of a Mustang. I am your host, Shalise Clough, and I'm here to tell the story of wild horses, Mustangs, and the humans who are discovering and sharing their gifts while working to protect their well-being and preserve their spirit, so this divine power won't be lost. Join us on this quest with the Wild Mustang.
Let's start there. Where does that story start? What motivated you to change your life? We all get in this kind of go make money, create a living. To just all screw that. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to go do what I want to do in life.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. It's, you got to have some money to like provide for a basic living, right? You got to have food, you need shelter, you got to make money. But you could definitely get caught in a trap of wanting or buying things you don't need. And now you have to make a certain amount of money to live up to a lifestyle that you've created for yourself, and you kind of trap yourself, right? So, okay, I want a newer car. Now I have a car payment. Okay, I want a bigger, nicer house. Now I have a big mortgage. All right, I want this, I want that. And now I have to work. You might be working a job that you not necessarily enjoy. Now you're working most of your life. They would call it, 9 to 5s, 5 days a week, which is a majority of your life, to buy the things that you want, pay for the things that you want. And you're kind of, a lot of times you get trapped into, okay, I have a mortgage, I have a car payment, and now I'm spending most of my life doing things that I don't really want to do or enjoy in hopes. Well, then you're like, okay, I got the 2-week vacation. So 2 weeks out of your life, 2 days, maybe on a weekend is what you're actually living your life for. The rest is like working to live, right? Working hard, doing something you may not enjoy to make enough money to live, and you're living to work. So it's like this cycle, like this hamster wheel of I'm spending all my time in my life to make enough money so I can live, and I'm living to work, right? So you're living for your 2 weeks or your weekends and 2 weeks a year. And hopefully, like, the goal is like, okay, I want to retire. When I retire, then I will enjoy my life. Then I'll do the vacations. Then I'll do this and I'll do that. But there's no guarantee you're going to make it to retirement. And there's no guarantee there is a retirement, especially nowadays.
Right.
And then if you actually do make it and you're like, you can retire, and then a lot of times you're too old and body's broke down and you don't end up doing anything and enjoying retirement anyway. And how many years do you have in your retirement? Like, I know a lot of people that pass away just a few years after retirement. So you like worked your entire life just for what? So anyway, I know I'm rambling about the hamster wheel of working and doing things you don't enjoy to pay for life, which your life is just working and doing things you don't enjoy, right? So anyway, I like, for my own story, I've always been a bit entrepreneurial, meaning like I've always kind of just owned my own little businesses and never really worked for anybody else, which was super enjoyable because I can kind of set my schedule and do what I want when I want. But if you guys are entrepreneurs or own your own business, you may leave a job that you're working 40 hours a week to go do 80 to 90 hours a week yourself, and you're
for
working
income that's not guaranteed.
Yeah, and no money's guaranteed. Like, no one's giving you a paycheck. You're creating it all.
Yeah.
So I've always been entrepreneurial, but in my 20s and 30s, I built quite a few businesses. I actually had a retail sports nutrition retail chain. I franchised it. We had like 26 locations. I started creating my own supplement companies. I had a meal prep company. I had a hunting company. I had a gym. I had a content creation company. So I had a whole bunch of different companies that I was doing in my 30s leading up to hitting 40. And at some point when I hit 40, I'm like, man, I am just stressed out. I am thin. Just because I own a bunch of companies doesn't mean I'm making any money. I'm, making enough money to survive, and I'm not enjoying what I'm doing. Like, I'm not enjoying my life. So at that point, I had a family. I've had one kid at that point. I have another kid now, but I made a huge move and a huge risk of saying, I'm going to stop doing everything that I'm doing. So every business, I either sold what I could or closed the other ones just to go on cool hunting adventures. That's all I wanted to do. And I always hunted my entire life, but I kind of felt like that time closing in of like, okay, maybe I'll do it when I get older and retire. Well, the type of hunting I like to do is very physical in the backcountry. And, who knows if I can, and I talked to so many hunters that they could finally afford it, or they could finally do it because they have time in their life, but now their body doesn't allow them to, and then they don't get to do what they want. So I hit 40 and I closed and shut everything down and just started going on cool adventures. And I spent all the money that I had made on any businesses that I sold very quickly, and then had to figure out how to monetize and make money doing hunting. So let's see, I'm 46 now. So 6 years after that move, I finally figured it out, and I'm able to sustain my hunting lifestyle and my family, and I've got it figured out, or for the time being. Who knows what the future has to hold. So,
all right. Tell us all the secrets.
What secret do you want to know?
What was that transition like? You had a family, you have a wife. She's just on board with you going hunting all the time, staying home, taking care of the kid. How did that all play out?
It's not all rainbows and unicorns for sure. Like, it was a big adjustment. When I started, my daughter was probably around 10 years old. So she was a little bit more self-sufficient, but it was kind of hard on the family, me being gone a lot, because I was probably gone on like 5 or 6 trips a year. And those trips could be from 5 to 7 days to 2 weeks. So, I'm gone quite a bit away from the family. So it was pretty rough on my wife and my daughter. So, I'm not going to sugarcoat that at all. But, they've made pretty good adjustments now. I'm actually not in the field, and I'm not gone as much as I was in the beginning, but, kudos to my wife. She was very supportive and said, okay. And, she wasn't supportive all the time. Meaning, like, there's definitely moments she's like, okay, listen, you need to stay home for a while because I am going nuts and I need some help. Right. So, she was very supportive, though. For the most part, my daughter was very supportive. And now they're, 6 years later, they're kind of just starting to reap the benefits of all my hard work in 6 years, where, financially we're not as strapped as what we used to be. So there's a little bit more freedom. We can, like, my wife and I are going to Italy here next month on our 10-year anniversary and her 40th birthday.
Nice.
So, there's a little bit of rewards at the end of the tunnel after 6 years of some hard grinds and some sacrifice, for sure.
Yeah. I think the thing that holds so many people back from doing it is the financial aspect. How did you navigate that? Going from multiple streams of at least some income to
no income,
offloading, spending it all.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely super stressful, right? And at one point, I actually got a job because I wasn't making enough money in the hunting realm. And so, I'll get into details if that helps your audience, and I'll get a little more tactful. So my plan was to do a hunting show. So I have a hunting television show, and I would make money with sponsorships with selling like ad space, right, on my show or my social media. And owning a bunch of businesses, I knew the business side of it. So I knew, like, when I'm approaching these brands, what they needed to see, I understood it. Like, they need a return on investment. If they're going to be spending money with me, they need to have money coming back. So I kind of understood the game, and there just wasn't a lot of money to be made at that point where I was at with my television show and my social media channels and stuff. So at some point, I started to run out of money, and I had to figure out, okay, there's got to be a way I can increase income. And I actually ended up getting a job working from home with a hunting company doing all their marketing, or a lot of their marketing. So I had some income there. But I'll tell you, going from owning my own businesses my entire life to working for someone else, that was terrible. Absolutely terrible. I hated every minute of it. Oh my God, it was the worst. So I did that for 2 years, and I finally was like, nope, I can't do this anymore. And I broke off, and I started a software when I broke off. It was a software that, in the hunting space, there's taxidermy that happens quite a bit, right? So you shoot an animal, and there may have some emotional meaning in the animal, or is a mature enough animal, or like, I want to get that mounted. You go to a taxidermist, and there's some problems in the taxidermy space. So I created a software that would solve a lot of the problems that taxidermists were having. So that idea actually propelled me out of owning, or out of working for someone else, and thinking, okay, this idea is going to fund me and give me money to be able to survive and pay for my family and be able to do what I want to do. The idea did not. Just so you know, it did not pan out. So, I think it's just, you have a plan, just go down a path, and just, your plan is 9 times out of 10, whatever plan you have it typically doesn't work out. It's like the 50th plan that works out. So you just got to keep like, all right, this isn't working out. I need to rewrite the plan. I need to figure, okay, let's change this, let's change that. And you just keep working it, and keep learning and failing, and keep failing and keep failing, and learning and rewrite the plan until like you finally get it figured out. And I'm finally getting it figured out. So what I do now is I have a hunting consulting business where, because I've been on so many hunts and I've dealt with a lot of hunting businesses like outfitters, there's a lot of hunters like me that want to go do these cool trips that I get to do, but it's a kind of a scary thing for them to spend a lot of money without knowing if that outfitter is a good outfitter or not, because there's a lot of bad outfitters out there. So my consulting business is me talking to a hunter and say, what are you looking to do? All right, let me find the right outfitter for you, the right hunt for you, the adventure, and I connect you. And then by me connecting, I get a fee for doing that from the outfitter. So that is doing really well now, and we finally got it figured out.
Yeah, nice. How has that impacted your life, having made this big jump to actually doing what you want to be doing in life?
Huge impact. Like, in my 20s, I had freedom because I was doing what I wanted to do, meaning like I own my own businesses. And again, I'll preface, it's not like when you own your own business, doesn't mean like you work 2 hours a day and you go play and have fun. Like, you're typically working way more than you would with having a job, right? But if I really wanted to not work for half a day, I could do it without having to ask a boss, right? So I always had that capability. And by having successful businesses in the past, I learned the skill and behavior and the confidence to say, okay, here's a goal that I have, and I know I've reached goals before, and I've figured things out in the past and been successful. So I have the confidence that I can figure things out again. So that gave me the confidence to say, all right, I should be able to figure things out on this latest jump in my life, right? So I had the skill set just for my own businesses, and then now how does it impact my life is I'm happy, man. I'm doing what I love. I'm doing what I enjoy. I just came back from a trip to New Zealand. I spent 2 weeks there in the backcountry of New Zealand. Fantastic adventure. Now I'm back, and I'm helping. I have a team of like 8 consultants. I'm helping them enjoy and live the life that they want to live because they're doing something similar. They're getting to go on cool hunting adventures, and they don't have a boss. I'm not their boss. I'm just helping them with their business. And, I get to help other people. I get to support my family. I have extra income so I can take my wife on a trip, and I get to sit here on this podcast and talk to you. Like,
Yeah.
I don't
You
have
got to figure it
to
out.
walk out. Yeah. I don't have to talk to a boss that, I don't have to have a job. Like, the benefit of a job is, you get a paycheck every 2 weeks or whenever you're getting paid, right? Like, that check's just coming. So that's the benefit.
Right.
And a lot of times working for someone else, you have better health benefits. But other than that, man,
Yeah.
it's like slavery. Like, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Mm.
Absolutely. So what is the thing, like, why hunting? You're out there
Mhm.
in the wilderness. It's cold. I don't know. I've never
It is.
been hunting,
Yeah.
but
No,
I
it's
love
fun.
nature. It sounds a little bit
Mhm.
miserable to be out there in the middle of winter in the fall.
Yeah, no, it can be miserable, and that's part of the appeal for me. Just be honest.
Yeah.
But I grew up hunting in a hunting family when I was a kid. So my mom and my dad hunted, and so I enjoyed it early on, and I've hunted all my life. And so for someone like you that doesn't hunt, and a lot of people that maybe your audience that doesn't hunt and maybe don't agree with hunting, let me preface. Yes, the goal of hunting is to kill an animal. That's the end goal, but that's not the value of hunting. The 99% of hunting is being in nature, pushing yourself, depending on what hunt you're doing. But for me, I do a lot of like very hard physical on a mountaintop, living off my back, eating freeze-dried food, sleeping in a sleeping bag on the ground for, 7 to 10 days straight. So that's the value to me, is immersing myself in nature and pushing myself physically and mentally. And it's not like I'm just leave my house and go murder a bunch of animals. That's not the case. And I know that's a lot of people think it is.
Yeah.
Most hunters don't kill anything. Like, I think only maybe 10% of hunts end with killing an animal. So most of the time when you're going out hunting, you're not shooting something. You're not taking a life.
Yeah.
It's the whole other process of planning again, for me, it's a backpacking trip, typically planning. Okay, here's all my gear. What do I need for gear? Where am I going logistically? Hiking in, an average day is 8 to 10 miles on my feet, not on trails. I'm not on some hiking trail. I'm out immersed in some remote wilderness that maybe no one else has ever been in, or if they have, it's maybe in the last 10 years. Like, I'm seeing things in nature that 99.9% of people don't see and don't experience. And for me, that's what really fuels me. And that's really the value, not necessarily killing an animal,
Yeah. And I think that's some of what drew me to having you here, is because it is such a connection to nature. Do you think that people who are going out there and actually hunting for food that they then eat versus, the rest of us that are going to the grocery store, do you guys have a different relationship with nature in that experience, do you think?
Oh my God, yes. So much. And I won't speak for every hunter. There's bad apples on every group, right? There's, I'm sure
absolutely.
In just the hiking realm of people that like to go hike, there's bad apples there too, right? So just like that,
Right.
hunters, I'll speak for majority of hunters. The majority of us that I've talked to, and I talk to lots of hunters being a consultant, is, when you go to the grocery store and you buy food, whether it be anything you're buying, there's no really emotional relationship there. It's just, this is what I'm going to feed my body, fuel my body. And most of the stuff we buy at the grocery store is not good. I guess pretty low quality
Right.
stuff, and it's filled with a bunch of garbage. So for me, and I'll get super heady on this, and I hope you can understand here what I'm saying. So when I go out into the field, and I love elk hunting. That's one of my favorite. And elk meat is amazing. It's one of my favorite meat by far. And I'm hunting for an elk. It's a very emotional thing. Like, most of my elk hunts, I lose probably 20 pounds in 7 to 10 days off my body. So it's a very physical.
It's a good diet plan.
Oh my God. Yeah. If you want to lose some weight, come elk hunting with me for sure. Because, you're hiking many miles, you're going up mountains. A lot of times I'm hunting at 12 to 13,000 feet. So very little oxygen. I'm carrying everything that I need on my pack. So that's 40 to 50 pounds on my back. I'm climbing mountains. I'm scaling. Like, super physical. I'm out in the conditions and rain and snow and wind and freezing temperatures to 100-degree temperatures, just depending on what I'm hunting. And if I'm able to harvest, kill an animal, it's not like I just pull the trigger and then I'm done. That's not it. When I pull the trigger, that's when the really hard work starts. I need to skin the animal and take the hide off the animal. Then I need to take care of the meat. I need to cut the meat off the animal's carcass. Then I need to figure out a way to get the meat from the mountaintop, which I could be 5 to 10 miles in on a mountain, out to my truck and take care of it, put it in a cooler to make sure it stays cool. So like that's days worth of hiking heavy packs. We're calling 100 to 120 pound pack, 5 to 10 miles out to my truck to make sure this meat comes out. And then once I get the meat out, I drive it home or I fly it home. And once it's flown home, I do most of the processing myself. So I'm the one cutting the meat up. I'm cutting the fat off the meat. I'm taking the hair off. I'm cleaning it. I'm prepping it. I'm turning it into burger, ground meat. I'm cutting into steaks. I'm cutting into roasts. So then after that's happened, I freeze it in my freezer and then I pull it out of the freezer. Then I unthaw it and then I'm prepping it with seasonings and I'm creating a meal for my family. There'll be, let's call it a chili, right? Like an elk chili. Everyone loves chili. Most people do. So like the ground and the beans and the seasonings and, the chili sauces and then, what's going to go along with the chili, like, the sides. And like, then I get to serve it to my family and feed my family. Like, who does that, going to a grocery store? You go buy ground beef at the grocery store. That ground beef came from a cattle lot and that cow did not have a very good life, right? It's been fed. And even if they say it's organic grass fed, like that cow is not having a good life. Like you're contributing to killing in the whole concept of these huge cattle farms that are very profitable or whatever, right? Like you have no relationship where that come from. You don't think about it. Like, but when I'm putting that plate in front of my daughter and saying, here is some meat that I went out and I did all that work to harvest to feed you. And it's the most organic meat with 0 GMOs, 0 preservatives. This is the healthiest thing that I can give you to eat. And there's not only a story behind it and how it got to that plate, but a very close tie emotionally for me too, of how that got there and I'm feeding my family. And I'll take it one step further and a little bit headier here is, let's say you ate an apple, right? So like your body regenerates millions of cells every day. Correct? I don't know if you guys listening understand that information. So every day your body regenerates cells, whether they growing hair, fingernails, new skin, dead skin falls off. Like your organs, like everything is regenerated. You're creating new cells. And how do you create a new cell? It's by the fuel, by what you put in your body. So if I eat an apple, my body takes that apple, uses the fuel of that apple to create my body, right? So that apple literally becomes me. So if I'm on an elk hunt and I kill an elk, I take that elk's life, the body of that elk, I take home, I consume it. That body of the elk actually becomes my body. Like that's the truth. So that's a very spiritual thing for me too, and a very emotional thing. And, so the animals that I harvest not only fuel my family and feed my family in a very organic, clean, healthy way, but they actually become us too. So.
Yeah. And I think that we're so far removed from the realities of life in that way and the life cycle because, for most of us, we're not going out and climbing a mountain to get our dinner for the dinners for the next 6 months or whatnot. Do you look at hunting as a sacred experience?
It's super sacred. Absolutely. Yeah. I was going to touch on what you just said. Like, most people don't climb a mountain to go get their food, and I don't have to either. I can go buy food at the grocery store. So, and a lot of people are like, you don't need to go kill an animal. Just go buy your stuff at the grocery store. Well, if you're a meat eater, you're still killing animals, right? If you buy a chicken, that chicken had to die to feed you. Even if you're a vegetarian, you're still killing animals. Like the farmer had to plow the field, which killed mice and rodents and took away habitat for other animals to live and feed on. Like, it's still happening, whether you like it or not. But back to your question of, is hunting a very sacred thing for me? It absolutely is. And I'm not a very religious person, so I don't worship and study the Bible, but I know there's many Bible verses in there that state that basically animals are here for human consumption. And I won't state them because, again, that's not my knowledge. It's not my expertise. So, but as far as how it's spiritual for me is, and again, it's not like hunting and taking an animal is not an easy task. Again, maybe 10% of people that go on a hunt actually kill an animal. So it's a very difficult thing to do, especially when I'm bow hunting. That's very difficult. And it seems that in order for me to harvest an animal, everything has to happen just perfectly. And that typically is not really something I can control 100%. I can do everything that I can do myself. I can try to put myself in the right position and do the right things, but I still need a little bit of help to get the animal harvested. And I don't know how your listeners are going to feel about this, but I really feel like anytime I kill an animal, it feels to me that the universe, God, creation, whatever you want to call it, is presenting that animal for my consumption. I would not have been able to kill that animal if I didn't have a little bit of divine intervention there, because it's so difficult to do. So I believe that there's a very spiritual universe part of that like offering. And then obviously I talked about, like, by consuming the animal becomes you. And, I do think very spiritually on it. It's a very emotional thing for me, for sure.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about some of the places you've gone. I was just looking at some of the videos you put out. There's one, I think you were in Africa, and you were talking to someone about an animal that had been killed and about how that will go and help feed the village and help finance the schools even from people that are going to have that experience. So that's one thing I saw. But what are some of the more memorable trips that you've had?
Yeah. So I'll just talk about Africa real quick too. And, again, the side of this industry is not really thought about as the financial side. So we'll talk about Africa, then I'll talk about like the States. So in Africa, hunting revenue is a huge part of their economy. And when a hunter comes over to Africa, those animals typically, depends on what country that you're in Africa, but those animals are typically owned by the government. So the money that is spent a lot of that goes into the government, which is then used for roads, school systems, and stuff like that. Right. So that's a huge benefit of the community. But as far as even the meat, so we can't bring meat home from Africa. It's just too far to try to keep it fresh without it spoiling coming from Africa. So anytime someone kills an animal in Africa, the meat is donated to local tribes. The local tribes are not supposed to hunt because the animals are owned by the government. Okay. So they can't really do their own self-sufficient hunting to feed their family. So when someone kills an animal in Africa, that meat is donated to the local tribes. They love it because they're getting this fresh organic food to feed their animals. And most countries in Africa, they're very poor. And those villages are literally living in a hut in the dirt. And so, the money that's spent, that's going to go for schooling for their children or some kind of road system or somehow to benefit them. I'm sure not all of the money, but a good portion of it does. And then the food goes to feed their family. Like, hunting's a very big thing for Africa. Now, how does that correlate here with the States? So let's just talk about the species of animals. So I'll just use deer because most people understand deer, right? Well, I'm going to argue, me as a hunter and most hunters love the species or the animal probably more than even an anti-hunter does. So we'll take the extreme side of it. So an anti-hunter is like, don't kill these animals. Why are you taking this life? You don't need to, you guys. And man, I get death threats all the time from anti-hunters. It's crazy, but they're like, don't take this
Yeah.
animal's life. And we understand. I understand don't take the animal's life, but I love the animal more than what this anti-hunter does. The anti-hunter doesn't understand the
Yeah.
animal. They don't know the animal like I do. And I value more of the animal as a whole, as a species, rather than the individual animal's life. Like, in order for me, I take an individual animal's life, I feed my family and whatever. But in order for me to hunt that animal, I need to buy a license. That money of buying a license goes into maintaining and reassuring the species of that animal stays healthy and the habitat that that animal lives in is maintained. Without that money, that species of the animal would not survive. Not only is it the money, but now I need to buy ammo. Now I need to buy hunting gear. Now I need to travel. When I'm in a community, I'm spending money in the community. So all that money, there's taxes on a lot of our hunting stuff that goes back to conservation, of conserving that species of animal. I know it sounds weird and crazy, but by killing an animal or hunting an animal actually preserves the species of that animal. If that didn't happen, the only other way to do that would be if there was no hunters. Us as a society would need to be taxed a lot extra to be able to maintain the species for that. And then if this, obviously there's another part of like species population control. So in the States, it's not like me as a hunter, I can just run out and start killing everything, right? Like you can't do that. Each state has their own conservation allotment. So just again, deer, let's say this area of Colorado, there is 1,000 deer. Well, the state of Colorado say, okay, we can take out 200 deer out of this herd, and that's going to make the herd healthy. Because, when that herd breeds, out of those 1,000 deer, another 1,000 deer pops out basically the next year, right? So they allocate and know how many deer you can actually take out of that herd, kill out of that herd, knowing that there's going to be a birth cycle the next year and there's going to be more animals that come out. And all that money that is spent on licenses and tags and ammo and hunting gear is then allocated for that herd to make sure there's enough forest land and food and habitat and anything else that is needed to maintain the life of that species, right? So there's a lot that goes into it, rather than just an anti-hunter, someone that doesn't understand hunting, looking at me as like, man, I'm a bad person for killing animals.
Yeah. And I think people are so removed from it, especially, if you're living in a city, if you're never out in the wilderness, that there's this concept in your head of how it should all be. And that's not actually how the cycle of life works and how, conservation works. We definitely get some of the same stuff with Mustangs. We don't hunt them, but I own them. And a lot of people don't like that I own them, even though I'm not the one, doing stuff. So I totally understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But I have noticed that a lot of people who hunt really do have respect. And I would say even, I guess respect is a good word, just for the wild world and for the wilderness. And I think of everybody, they probably want to preserve it more than a lot of other people who are totally fine with a shopping mall going up or, data centers going up, all of those things. I know my father-in-law was hunting and had told my husband, like, he went to hunt elk, but he didn't see a whole lot. So he decided just to not shoot one because he wanted to make sure that the elk could stay there. And I don't know that everybody understands that a lot of people who are out there in the wilderness are thinking about those kinds of things.
Mm-hmm. No, it's very, very true. And the government right now is trying very hard to take back public land, to use that for housing and data centers and stuff like that, right? And so they're like, look, there's millions and millions and millions of acres of public land in the United States. Let's just take a good portion of this and use it for housing and whatever. But us as hunters, I'm sure other outdoor people that just love to be outdoors also are fighting, but we're fighting very hard to say, no, we're not giving you an inch of our public land. Because once that happens, once the housing development goes up, animals can't live there. Where are they going to go?
Yeah.
And they keep getting pushed. And there's a lot of public out in the wilderness now that there's a lot of pressure on animals. So like, when people are hiking these hiking trails in the mountains or in the woods and it's springtime and of course I think they should do it and should be able to do it. It's their public land, get out and enjoy nature for sure. But one thing they don't understand either is because you're out in nature, you're putting pressure on these animals. And if it's the spring and it's a calving season or deer popping out fawns and you're hiking by and there's stress on those mothers, there could be a lot of abortions and miscarriages and, a lot of harm that can happen just by you being out there and enjoying the nature and hiking down the trails, right? So just because you don't have a gun in hand doesn't mean you're not doing harm to the animals. And like, this is not a Disney movie, like you watch a Disney movie and you see the family of bears and there's a daddy bear and a mama bear and a baby bear and they're all living happily. And then, oh man, the big bad human comes and they're the bad guy, right? And that's not the reality. The reality of it is there's a mama bear, there's a baby bear. The daddy bear wants to kill the baby bear to breed the mama bear. That's the truth and reality. That's what happens all the time. And if an animal dies out in nature, let's just call it a deer again, they're going to die in just a few different ways. One, they're either going to starve to death, they're going to freeze to death, or they're going to get eaten alive. They don't fall asleep in their beds at old age and die in their sleep. That's not how an animal dies. So it's when a hunter shoots an animal, typically, if it's a decent shot, they will die very quickly. And most of the time they don't really even understand what's going on. It's like if you stood up too fast and you got lightheaded, and if you were actually passed out because you got lightheaded, it's a very similar thing that happens with an animal when they get shot. The blood pressure drops because they're losing blood and they end up just passing out, right? That's how they die. If they starve to death, that's a very brutal death. If they freeze to death, that's brutal. And if a predator like a wolf, a bear, mountain lion, those predators don't really care if they kill them or not. They'll start eating them before they're dead. So which way would you rather die, right? So this is not a movie. Yeah, life is not a Disney.
I mean, I think that's true. Nature is beautiful, but it's also, there's some pretty harsh realities out there as well.
Oh man, nature is brutal. It is beautiful, but it also is very brutal.
Yeah. You take a lot of other people on trips, is that right? Do you actually go with other people, or do you usually just coordinate it?
I don't anymore. I usually, I did own an outfitting business where I would take clients out on hunts before. What I do now is just coordinate the trip. So a client may come to me and say, Kurt, I really want to go do an elk hunt in Colorado. And what do you recommend for me? And then I get to know that person and say, okay, based upon what you want to do, I think these hunts would be best for you. And I get them connected with those hunts. That's kind of what we do.
Yeah. So what are some of the lessons that you have learned integrating your life into this experience of hunting, or how have you seen it fulfill a need for other people who are, like we kind of talked about, it's not something easy. It's not sitting down and scrolling on your phone. There's a lot of intention and money and time and energy that goes behind it. Like that. And what is the motivation? Like, what is the draw that takes people out there, and what does it do for them and for you?
Yeah. So first I'll start with, I think society is, as the technology progresses, society becomes softer and softer, right? As the convenience and speed of things, let's take 50 years ago, like your daily life 50 years ago or 100 years ago was a lot different than it is now, right? Like you're basically living to try to survive. You need to go chop wood or get water, make sure you have a fire, go find your own food. Like there was a lot of work involved, and you had to be a pretty tough, rugged person to survive. And with each advancement of technology, we just become softer and softer and softer. So now society is very soft, and and I think it causes a lot of mental issues in society. And the anxiety, the obesity, the depression, all these huge problems that we have, I believe it's because people don't really do things that are hard anymore. So with that being said, if you go out on a hunt, you're going to do something hard. Like, I took my daughter and niece, we didn't even do a hunt. We went and we did a 14er. It's called, we climbed a mountain that was 14,000 feet here in Colorado.
Yeah.
And I did it so they could experience doing something hard. And then in that experience of doing something hard, you go through a lot of emotions. In the beginning, you're very excited because it's something new and fun. Like, oh my God, we're going to go climb this mountain. It's going to be great. Halfway through, you're like, oof, I'm getting a blister in my foot and I hurt and this kind of sucks. And I'm not enjoying this at all. This is getting pretty hard. Going a little further into it, let's say you're 75% of the way up the mountain. There might be some tears involved. And there was definitely some tears involved with my daughter and my niece. And then you get up to the top and, oh my God, I accomplished it. Like, look at these views on the top of the mountain. Like, I never thought I could climb a 14,000 foot mountain. Like, I accomplished it. Well, you're only halfway done. So now you got to come back down off the mountain and go to the truck. So now you're hurting. And anyway, like, it's very, very, very difficult. And you're going to push yourself past limits that you didn't think that you had, of like, oh my God, I want to quit, but I can't quit. What am I going to do? I'm going to sit in this mountain and just be here now? Like, I'm going to live on this rock here now? Like, you can't quit. You have to get back to the vehicle. So you have to push past that limit to get past the vehicle. And then when you get back to the vehicle, you have this sense of like accomplishment that, like, God, I did some really hard stuff. Yeah. I may have cried. I may have complained a lot. It hurt. I have blisters on my feet. I might be bleeding. I'm cold. I'm wet. I might have a little bit of hypothermia, but I accomplished this. And then you take that really hard thing that you just did. And next time you have something hard in life, whether it be school or work or a relationship, well, you can use that lesson of accomplishing something hard into that too. Like, well, I was able to push through on this mountain. I'm sure I can push through on this conversation I'm going to have with my friend, right? Whatever that hard thing is. That's the same thing with hunting. Is I have a goal in mind. I'm going to go harvest an elk. Well, to do that, I have to go do some really hard stuff, and the odds are really, really low. And after that hunt, whether or not you harvest an elk or not, you understand the value of what you just learned is not killing an elk or not killing an elk. The value is you pushing past limits and doing hard things, just like climbing that mountain, that then you can take those values you learned of patience, of perseverance, of pushing past when you want to quit, but don't quit. All those values you learned, and you can apply that to the rest of your life of other hard things that may be happening in life, right? So.
Yeah, I do think that's very important. Unfortunately, our comfort is one of the things that is quite literally killing people in our society today. And we like to look past that and not want to hurt anyone's feelings and keep everything soft and happy. But that's not the reality of life. No matter, I'm sure you've seen the thing out there, but it always says choose your hard. You can choose to do something hard, go hiking in the mountains and build your body and build that mindset, or you can choose to stay home on your couch and watch TV, and that's going to be hard when you're sick and can't do anything. So I do think that's such an incredible part of integrating nature in your life, is because, it's uncomfortable. It's hard. Especially, I'm sure if you're out there, I come home to my house after I'm in nature, but especially when you don't have a house to come home to.
But there's also a lot of cleansing that happens in nature too. So there's a lot of science behind this of like electricity of nature, right? So like when we're at home in front of a computer screen, or a TV, or we're in traffic, we're in concrete jungle of the city, like humans were not meant to live that way. That's not. So when you're in nature, hopefully most of those things go away. Hopefully you're not on your phone, but you don't have the TV, you don't have the concrete jungle, you don't have traffic or smog, you're breathing fresh air. And there's actually a lot of science behind like just touching a tree and there's actually electricity, or like I'm not a scientist, so I don't know the terms of it, but like there's a grounding that happens in your own body, like physically. And on a science level, that if you spend some time in nature, there's a cleansing and a healing that happens. And then when you go, and especially if you've been immersed in nature, like actual immersion, I'm not talking about truck camping. Like there's nothing wrong with that if you guys go do it. When I say truck camping is like, okay, I'm going to pull my truck into a camping spot and pitch a tent. or I'm
Yeah.
going to pull my camper in. I'm going to sit in camper. Like, okay, at least you're doing something. But when you are sleeping on the ground in the middle of the forest or the mountains and you are immersed in nature days on end, that is a huge cleanse in your life. And I believe it's so healthy for you.
Yeah. Have you personally experienced that or seen where that's changed people to just get away from all the pressure and stimulus that's all around us in the world?
Oh, yeah.
That's, the world that humans have created. Whereas when you go out in nature, it's not that constant stimulation like it is. Like there is, a lot of nothing going on is what it seems like, even though there's life and all of
Mm-hmm.
that.
Yeah, for sure. And here's kind of the stages that you go through. Let's say you're going to go on a 5-day camping, hiking trip, right? We're not even talking about hunting. We're just going to go out in nature. Well, the first couple of days, you're going to have some anxiety because
Yeah.
you're going to be bored, especially if you don't have service on your cell
Mm.
phone. Let's just say your cell phone's gone. You're going to be bored. You're not going to know what to do with yourself. You're addicted to your phone. So now you're going through withdrawals of like wanting to be on the phone, right? So
Mm-hmm.
the first couple of days are tough, but after you get like past 2-3 days, then you start to like actually relax and calm down and like become happy, and like the stress relieves and the anxiety goes, and there's just a calming at peace. And then you like start using your imagination again, because most people don't use your imagination because you're always stimulated your brain. So if you're, even like, man, if you go, I see this all the time and I do it myself. I'm driving in traffic. I sit at the stoplight. Well, I start getting bored because I've been sitting there for 10 seconds with nothing to do. I grab my phone, right? Like there's no
Yeah.
boredom anymore. There's no using of your mind and creativity. So when you're out in nature and you don't have that cell phone to scroll, well, now you can actually use your creativity and you can tap into that side of your brain and your mind and actually enjoy your surrounding and be present in your surrounding. And after, the first 2 days are pretty tough, 3-4 days, then you really start seeing the benefits and the positivity of just being in nature.
Yeah. I think that's something we have definitely found. That's certainly something that has been a pathway to just respite from, all the pressure from our modern world. We're
Yeah.
just constantly going, doing, achieving. It's very different when you're out in the
Yeah.
natural world, just immersed in it.
Yeah. And then the problems that you think are problems you realize they're not really problems, especially when you're doing some like kind of hardcore rugged stuff. I'm not saying everyone needs to do this. I'll just use my own example. So sometimes I'm in a backcountry for a long time. And instead of me thinking about, oh my God, there's emails I have to get to, this is a problem, little problem here, and I have to have this phone call. Those problems are not problems anymore. The new problems I have is I need to find water because I'm getting dehydrated. It's raining and snowing on me. I need to stay dry and warm somehow. How am I going to do that? I'm getting hungry and I'm running out of food. What do I need to do? Oh, I need to get to this point of the terrain or on the mountain. What's the best path and route to do that? Those are my new problems that I'm thinking about. I'm not thinking about the emails I need to get back to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have been some of your most challenging trips that you've been on?
Like physically challenging?
Physically, mentally, yeah.
Mentally? Well, I've been to Alaska a few times. Those are always pretty challenging. I just came back from New Zealand on the South Island, and that was very rugged terrain. That was very physically challenging for me. Mentally, it's typically always pretty challenging when I'm doing a backpacking trip because of weather. Like when I was in New Zealand, it rained on us for 3 days straight. So what are you going to do? And like, you're getting rained on, like it's not like
Yeah.
you can just go curl up on your couch in front of your fireplace and watch TV because it's rainy outside.
Yeah.
You got to figure it out. Right. So, and then you're walking around in wet boots that are going to freeze the next day. And then you're putting on frozen boots the next day that you have to walk in. Right. So
Sounds fun.
yeah, it's great. Right. But like,
Yeah.
there's in the moment it sucks, but on the other end of it, there's a lot of benefit to it of like, yeah, like it rained on us for many days and then my boots and socks. I was on an elk hunt one time, on an archery elk hunt, and it was snowing on me and then turned into rain. And I got soaked out. My rain gear
Oh, yeah.
soaked through, my boots soaked through. So I was completely drenched, and I wasn't even in a tent. I brought a bivvy with me. So the next morning it froze, and then everything was frozen. So my socks were frozen, my boots were frozen. And that happened for every day, every night for like 3 or 4 days. So it was very miserable during the moment. But in the morning, for me to crawl out of my sleeping bag, which was somewhat warm, to put on my frozen socks, to put on my frozen boots, to put on my frozen clothes, to then persevere to do the things I needed to do the next day, find water, find elk, where am I moving to? And in the moment it sucks, but after you do that and you look back on it, there's just so much value. Like, look, if I can spend 3 days putting on frozen boots when I don't want to, what else can I do that I don't want to do? Am I going to be able to not go to eat fast food? Am I going to be able to not have the extra dessert for dinner? Am I going to be able to go to the gym? Am I going to be able to have the hard conversation that I need to with my family? Am I, like all the problems of the world, like, shoot, man, you put on frozen boots for 4 days straight. Like, you could probably do something you don't want to do somewhere else in your life,
Yeah, I think we really underestimate the human capacity because our life has gotten so soft and easy.
Mhm.
Do you read much?
I used
Read
to. I
books?
do more audiobooks now,
Yeah. Okay. Well,
rather
here's
than
one if you haven't listened to it. Shackleton's Endurance. Have you ever heard that?
Shackleton's Endurance. I haven't.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'll
They
write
go
that
on
down.
this expedition to I don't even know where it is. One of the poles and get caught in ice. They are living out there on glaciers for 18 months or something. It's incredible.
Oh,
I read
man.
that and I just thought, oh my gosh, we have no idea. Like, what are we doing? It
Yeah.
was a really cool story. But yeah, I think that nature kind of helps remind us about the capacity that we have and the abilities that we have to, maybe the things that seem so hard aren't really as hard as we think, and we're more than capable.
Yeah. Well, then when you come back to the real world and what you used to have anxiety about, of like the to-do list and like, oh my God, I have so much to do for work and my family and da 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 da. Like, it doesn't seem as heavy anymore. You don't have that anxiety
Yeah.
anymore. Well, okay, what if I don't get to that email right now? What if I do it tomorrow? No problem. Like,
Yeah.
it's not that severe of a thing,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely think nature gives that to us. That's definitely something that I get when I go out with my horses that, yeah, turns out all these worries and concerns are not as important as I thought they are, not as
Hmm.
life altering as we sometimes tell ourselves in
Hmm.
our heads.
For sure.
Um, s- since you've kind of changed your life from frantically running several businesses to doing what you wanted to do in life. How has that, and spending, I am assuming, a lot more time out in the natural world and in nature and
Mhm.
in those experiences, how has that impacted you?
I mean, on a lot of levels, like obviously, I enjoy waking up every morning, right? So I don't
Yeah.
remember the last time I needed an alarm clock to wake up, and I wake up
Yeah.
early because I want to get a lot done in a day. So, sometimes I'm at 4 o'clock in the morning and I don't need an alarm clock because I enjoy
Yeah.
my life. I enjoy my day, which I think is a huge thing. If you're out there and you don't need an alarm clock to wake up because you're excited to wake up for the day and you're happy and you enjoy that, that's a pretty big thing. Um,
Yeah.
so just enjoying each day. And then I get to help other people, fulfill their bucket list adventures, which is super enjoyable. I get to go experience the things that I want to experience when I'm still young enough to do them. I get to show my kids that you can accomplish whatever you want in life because I'm living it, I'm doing it. Obviously it's easier said than done, right? Like, oh yeah, you can do whatever you want in life. I know everyone says that, but the truth and reality of it is you just can't quit. Like, there is a
Yeah.
solution there. It just might be the 136th solution that you come up with
Yeah.
that is actually a
And
solution.
discomfort
Right?
if you
Yeah,
really want to do it.
yeah, for sure. So, I think that's really big to show my kids that, look, you don't have to be a sheep. You don't have to do a job you don't enjoy. Like, you can do anything you want, anything you can think of, you can figure out a way to do it. And whether it be your career or a goal you have in just your personal life or whatever it is, showing them that can happen because I'm living that life. And then, like, I don't have those fears of missing life. I don't think I'll regret when I'm, at the end of my life on a bed about to die. And I look back, I don't think I'll have regrets of not living my life the way I wanted to live them. Right. Cause I'm doing everything I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think even the first thing you said, just wanting to wake up in the morning, is pretty huge, because sadly, in the world we live in, not everybody wants to wake up at all, like the mental health issue is real. So just that ability to make a life where you can spend time in nature, and, maybe it's not nature for everything, but to do those things that you want to do rather than just kind of feed into the system and do what everybody else is telling you should do, I think is huge.
Yeah. And I don't want this to come off the wrong way of like, you need to go create and start your own business. Like, most people don't have that capability, to be honest with you. I think you're
not
either
for
born that
everybody.
way or not. It's not for everybody. I actually don't wish it upon anybody because it sucks most of the time. It's very, very, very hard.
Yeah. It's a good reality check, honestly.
It really is. But the premise of what I'm talking about, if you don't like something in your life, change it. You have the ability to change it. If you don't like your health, if you don't like your job, whatever you don't like, don't just sit there and complain about it. You have the ability to change it. Just change it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is when a lot of people are facing depression or whatnot, I think that is your body and your mind telling you, like, you need to change something. This needs to be different. And so I think that is great advice. Like, yeah, maybe you don't quit your job, but maybe you do the things that you want to do on the weekends. Maybe you find other opportunities where you can experience life the way that you would like to live it. Tell everybody where they can find you, how to connect with you.
Yeah, so my company is called Western Obsessions. So, probably the easiest way is just going to our website. That will show you on my website. I'll have all my hunting shows there, so you can watch all the crazy, weird, adventures that I get to go on. If you're looking for a hunting adventure, we have a whole bunch of hunting trips on there, a bunch of blogs. If you want to see kind of what I do day to day, just random things I do in my family and my workouts and whatever. That's, I do a lot on Instagram and Facebook. You can find me there just under Western Obsessions or Kurt Belding. Would love to have you guys follow along. And if you need anything, reach out. I personally DM. So if you want to ask me a question, just send me a DM and I'm the one actually responding to you.
Nice. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here. I think that there were definitely a lot of good lessons for us to remember, good reminders for life and how to live a life that is good. And also just the importance that we all need to be working together to protect the natural world. I think it is something that is at risk. And if we lose it, it's going to really hurt, not just the animals, but humanity as a whole. So I love the idea of each of us in our own way, whatever that might be, reconnecting with nature and the world, that if we had been born 100 years ago, like, this is the life we would be living. And if we can bring a little bit more of that into our life, I think that's of benefit. And I feel like your story definitely helps to highlight that and your experiences and your advice. So thanks a lot for being here.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it. And I enjoyed the conversation.
Thank you for joining us and learning about horses that heal and the humans who help them. We hope you'll continue with us on this journey. We'd love for you to subscribe on your favorite platform and follow The Touch of a Mustang on any of the major social media outlets. Please share with your friends, anyone who loves horses, or anyone who might be struggling and could benefit from this message. If you have felt the healing power of horses or help them in their divinely appointed mission, please reach out. We want to hear your story. As we say goodbye, always remember that the horse is always there to help you heal.